It's officially my favorite season. Award season is in full swing, but this year I am just so excited for the award season to finally be over. I think especially compared to last year, some of these movies don't feel particularly exciting to talk about. I'm glad that there's a bit of uncertainty in a lot of categories that makes it more fun, but the drama, the controversies, the mudslinging, I cannot wait until March 3rd when I can rest and focus on a new year of cinema. But while we're here, let's rank the 10 Best Picture nominees at the 2025 Oscars. To no one's surprise, in last place, I have Emilia Perez, and look, I know it's easy to dunk on this movie, and I could sit here and I could talk about how the songs are horrible and the musical numbers themselves look flat and boring, the performances range from decent at best to laughably bad, and the narrative is inherently problematic and offensive to several groups, but you know what? Let's not be too harsh. I want to be nice, so here's a list of things that I liked about this movie. At number 9, this might be controversial, but I have Wicked. And look, I've talked extensively about my problems with this film. The performances are great, but the pacing is atrocious and it just looks lifeless and dull. I like the Broadway musical, but I think this is a bad adaptation of it. At number 8, I have the Bob Dylan biopic, A Complete Unknown. And look, I know nothing about Bob Dylan, and after watching this movie, I still basically know nothing about Bob Dylan. I really enjoyed the first hour of this film as an introduction to Bob's music and seeing his rise to fame, but after a while, some plot points felt repetitive and drawn out, which is probably why this movie feels like it's over an hour too long. They hint at Bob Dylan's mysterious past, but never actually dig into it. I think the climax of this movie is not very interesting at all, and somehow conveys these sentiments with messaging that I entirely disagree with. I'm sure people are going to accuse me of hating musicals after I put all three at the bottom, but look, if Better Man were nominated, it would be much higher on my list. Justice for Better Man. Next up, I'm kind of shocked that I even have it this low on my list because I enjoyed it a lot, but at number 7, I have The Substance. I think the fact that a bloody, gross-out horror movie like this even received a Best Picture nomination is wild. I think horror as a genre is egregiously underrepresented at the Oscars. I mean, this is the 97th Academy Award show, and The Substance is only the 7th horror movie to ever get a Best Picture nomination. Obviously, this movie is not very subtle about its themes and its messaging, but I actually think that works in this movie's favor. It's screaming the message in your face because the movie itself is just bubbling under the surface with this self-hatred induced rage. I'm disappointed that this movie wasn't nominated for Best Sound because it uses it so effectively. I'm sad Margaret Qualley is not getting her flowers for this, but otherwise I think this movie saw its best case scenario at the Oscars, and I'm very happy about that. At number 6, please don't come for me, Brazil, but I have I'm Still Here. I hadn't even heard about this movie until Fernando Torres won at the Golden Globes, and now here I am a month later cheering for it to win Best International Film. I think it's an extremely timely film given the rise of fascism, authoritarianism, and oppressive conservative ideologies, not just in Brazil or in the US, but around the world. I actually didn't know that this was based on a true story, and I was already so deeply moved by it, but when the credits started rolling and they were showing the side-by-side photos of the film and then the real people, I started to tear up. It's so effective. Also, the soundtrack is incredible. I love Brazilian music, but the end credit song especially, like I've had that on repeat for the past few weeks since I've seen it. I love it. At number 5, I have Nickel Boys. I think this is one of the most bold and creative undertakings I've ever seen from an adaptation. You could tell Ramel Ross's documentary work is just perfectly suited to translate this creative vision. I think it's absurd that Jomo Frey didn't get nominated for Best Cinematography. I definitely feel like I need to watch this movie again to fully appreciate it. It's doing so much that it almost feels like giving it only a single watch doesn't do it justice. So maybe I'll feel higher about it on a rewatch, but this is definitely one of the most affecting movies of the bunch. At number 4, I have the absolute titan of a film that is The Brutalist. I think in many ways I feel similarly to this in the way that I do with Nickel Boys, and that this probably deserves more than one watch to fully appreciate it. The opening score with the shot of the Statue of Liberty is a moment in film that feels larger than life. It feels like you're witnessing a standout moment in the history of cinema. I just wish the rest of the movie kept that same energy, particularly the second half, which I know has been talked about extensively. It's not a hot take or a unique take to say that the second second half pales in comparison to the first. I think the thing that bothers me the most about it is that there are so many directions that they could have gone to convey the evils of capitalistic greed and how the rich and the powerful prey upon the lower class and immigrants, and it just feels like they took the cheapest and laziest way to convey that. So much so that it almost discredits its own messaging. I just think that if they had nailed the ending, we'd be talking about one of the greatest pieces of cinema ever made, and instead we're just talking about a very good movie. For some, it might feel like a sin to put this next movie above The Brutalist, but at number 3, I have Conclave. This movie is so simple and yet so effective. The cinematography is gorgeous, the score is so unique, and yeah, I love watching cardinals be catty and gossipy with each other, but the ending was not only shocking, it was truly powerful. I watched this the day after the US election, so the messaging wasn't lost on me that building your party based solely on opposition to ultra-conservative fascism, aiming to maintain the status quo, or focusing on centrist ideologies, these are losing strategies. And voting for real progressive change is the only way to win back the faith of the people. I mean, it's perfect, no notes. Number 2, I have what is probably going to be our next Best Picture winner, and that is Anora. It goes from being one of the funniest movies of the year to being one of the most hard-hitting. And while I enjoyed my time with this movie, I don't think it really works without that final scene. It completely elevates the movie by just pulling back the curtain and showing us who Anora really is. The chaos that is bubbling the entire movie just explodes and hits you in the gut. It feels like the whole runtime you're moving at lightning speed, and then the finale is just a big crash landing back to Earth. I haven't stopped thinking about it since I watched it. I'd be very happy if this won. I'd be ecstatic if Mikey Madison won Best Actress. But my number 1 pick is not only my number 1 movie of 2024, this is one of the best films of the decade, maybe even the 21st century. It's Dune Part 2. I think it's criminal how much this film is being looked over and not really taken seriously. I think Denis Villeneuve was absolutely snubbed. I would be so much more on board with Timothée Chalamet winning Best Actor if it was for this instead of a complete unknown. I love this movie. I mean, what else is there to say? But let me know in the comments what your favorite movie of the bunch is. Who do you think will win Best Picture? What are your award season controversial takes? Thank you so much for watching, and in case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.